If we look at the totality of those people, and this ranges, like you were saying, everyone from just beginning to headlining touring artists, what is probably the most common fear energy that is evoked? That's like, oh, yep, there it is, rearing its ugly head again. There's that one thing that always shows up.
The big one is the fear of running out of time. That's a really big one. Like, fear shows up in so many different ways, but that's a big one that I see of like, oh, the clock is ticking. I'm going to run out of time. I'm getting older, right? And comparing yourself to other people. Just generally, there's just the fear of failure, right? Like, what if I don't make this happen? Or what if I put all of this time into this passion, this dream, and this career, and then it doesn't happen? It's like the fear of, not only just failing at it, but then the fear of like, what do I do then? I didn't pursue a normal path. I didn't pursue a normal career. There's the fear of not having money, right? The fear of putting all this time and this energy in and having nothing to show for it, like financially, right? And losing that time where you could have maybe been building a quote unquote normal career. So when that fear is there, it's affecting it's leaking into the process, and it's going to affect how you show up, right? It's going to affect how you create. So, and again, it's like, life isn't about being fearless. Also, like, fear is a part of life. It's also scary to go for it. It's and fear, I think, it's actually a beautiful thing. I think fear is the compass that's pointing you where to go rather than what to avoid. And fear is always going to be there at every level. It's about having courage, though. Really, fear is there, and it's just, what do you do with it? Do I let that fear stop me from pursuing my dreams and my goals? Or do I use that fear as a compass and I lean into it? And in which case, that just means my courage needs to be bigger than my fear. I just live a courageous life and I do the things that I'm scared of. All right. So the fear might be there, but it's like, okay, we can't let that fear influence how we show up. Right? Like, okay, I see you. I recognize you. Yeah, this is scary. Yeah, there's some fears of, I have fear of rejection. I have fear of failure. I have fear of losing it all. Like, okay, cool. It's there. And I'm not going to let you get in my way, though, of sharing my gifts and being a creator and being an artist and pursuing what lights me up.
Quick side quest with this idea, okay, and we'll get back to it. I know you really wanted to talk about authenticity, which I'm very excited to hear about. I promise that's coming. Patience. But it's a quick side quest with this. I believe we even talked about this on the last episode that we did on my podcast years ago. I would love to know your thoughts about this concept. So we that speak English have kind of painted ourselves into a corner where there's these two overarching large concepts that we force into one word, and that word is fear. Because, for example, if I brought you to my house, Nick, and I set a box of Black Widows in front of me, and I said, Nick, I need you to put your hand in this box of Black Widows, you would feel what we'd call fear. And I'm assuming you wouldn't say, well, you need to lead into this. Of course you need to lead into it and put your hand in the box, right? That's ridiculous. So we have this thing that keeps us alive, this fear, if we want to call it that we call it alive. But then there's clearly the other thing. If you came to my house and you were terrified to go hiking with me, it's fine, Nick, I'll keep you safe, don't worry. But you were terrified to go hiking with me, that's clearly an appropriate time to lean into that fear. It's like, no, come on, man, like, we'll have a good time. It's good for you to get out and see stuff. So we kind of have these two overarching categories that we kind of force into the same word. I want to paint this clearly because, I've heard people bring up that argument before, but it's like, well, does that mean I need to, live on the edge, because I'm afraid to go live on Skid Row? Does that mean I need to lean into it and do it? And so that's why we as English speakers kind of painted us. We should really have two different words. One that's like, this thing that's keeping you alive and this thing that's keeping you from thriving, right? But we both use fear to do that. Is that, you see what I'm saying? Am I just
1,000%. A lot of people say that that self-protective part of ourself that has fear, that is, also what we would also call our ego. Just like there's this part of our brain that is constantly analyzing and judging everything and basically determining, is this dangerous or not? And people hypothesize that this comes from thousands of years ago when we were like cavemen, like living out in the wild, where it's like, oh, there were saber-toothed tigers, and we had to be on alert. So we have this part of our brain, this primal, primitive part of our brain, where we're looking out for danger, and it's to ensure our survival. But now here we are, years later, thousands of years later, we don't live in those same conditions, but we still have that same evolutionary, biological part of ourselves. Like, we're constantly looking out for danger. So it's not a saber-toothed tiger anymore, but now it's putting out a piece of content and having everybody laugh at you, or putting out music and having nothing happen, right? Or reaching out to a record label and being rejected. So it's not necessarily the fear of physical danger, but it's the fear of psychological and emotional danger. And so we have to be able to distinguish that. Right. And I love that you brought up, should we live on our edge? My answer is yes. But your edge is different. Everybody's edge is different. Going and living on Skid Row, that might be edgy, really edgy for some people. That might be so far out of your edge that it would break you. It's not your edge. That's like be way beyond your edge. And for some people, that wouldn't even be an edge at all. They're like, yeah, sure, I'll go do it. So for each of us, I think it is important that we to live, and I don't know, like, you determine what kind of life you want to live. If you want to live a boring life where you never do anything that excites you or scares you, okay, cool. I don't think that that's how we were designed, though. I don't think that that's what, our creator, whatever that may be, how we were designed. I think that we were designed to have this impulse inside of us that wants to expand. It wants expansion. And for us to expand, we have to keep finding out where our edge is. Right. So, the things that are edgy for me right now, I was just sharing with you before. I'm excited because in my business, I just finally am doing a free masterclass, and I set up an email sequence where it does automated emails. That has terrified me before. I've been so scared of emails and technology. I'm not a technological person. That's been my thing. But you crush it at that. You're like, dude, this is my zone of genius. I'm so good at this. So my edge isn't your edge. Right. And so I think it's important that we all kind of find out where that is. The problem is a lot of times where we have conditioned ourselves so much to let the fear take over that we're just playing a really small game. One of the biggest examples I use all the time is artists just reaching out to record labels as what I call just shooting your shot. Hit up your favorite artist, go hit up a stranger, somebody in the industry, ask to take them to lunch, put yourself out there. A lot of people are scared of that. And then you don't realize how many opportunities you're actually missing out on. Right. Or what might be an edge is, Miami Music Week is happening right now. Maybe your edge is go buy a plane ticket and fly to Miami Music Week by yourself and just go out and party and network with people. That might be super edgy for people. But you know what? That might be the edge to step up to that allows your life to 10x. You know what I mean? That not only on the external world allows you to develop relationships and connections and helps move your career forward, but also helps you become a different kind of person. The amount of expansion in your internal world where you're like, I just pushed myself a little bit. I stepped into that edgy. And you know what? I became a little bit more confident through that. I believe in myself a little bit more now. It's I actually feel like I'm capable of even more. If we're not challenging ourselves and stepping to our edge, we never know what we're actually capable of.
That is great. And I'm really glad you went into describing the physiological response that happens, right? Because this is so nerdy, Nick. This is so nerdy.
Let's get nerdy, bro.
With all the therapy that I've went to and the psychologists that I've went to, they have explained the actual process and the part of the brain that lights up is called the amygdala, right? The amygdala is what is responsible for keeping you alive, right? That's if I gave you the box of the Black Widows and told you to stick your hand in it, it would be your amygdala. I actually have two, so it's amygdalae or amygdalas. I don't know. Anyways, so one of those, both of them, some of them, somewhere will light up and say, don't you do that. That's going to kill you. And they are doing their job. They're doing fantastic. The amygdala is the thing that stops you from going 180 down Main Street. It's
don't touch the hot stove, yeah.
Exactly. And so you need that, but you're absolutely right that in our modern day and age, the amygdala, for lack of a better term, becomes restless, right? And it sees threats where threats are, threats of your life, where those threats do not exist, like in public speaking, reaching out to the record label, reaching out to your favorite artists to see if they want to do something, whatever, right? Starting a podcast, whatever, you're releasing your music, the amygdala goes crazy. And those are the feelings of fear that most people are having. They feel like their life is threatened, even though they may not be able to put words to it, right? They feel that internal stress, their heart starts to beat faster, and anyways. And so I love that we can bring that up and be like, listen, there are real life threats and the amygdala is doing their job, but probably most of the time it's probably just screwing up. And you have to be able to say, my life is not in danger. It's okay. I can lean into this fear.
1,000%. Because, if I think about every big artist that you see that's out there that you look up to, they're living the dream, they're touring, they're doing all of it. There are probably 1,000 other artists that could be doing that, but are sabotaging themselves in some way because they have, that internal fear, the stress, the anxiety, the whatever it may be, is stopping them and blocking them from putting themselves out there in that way. And that's like, it's like the invisible parking brake. That's what I'm always looking with people. Because here's the thing. I believe that every single one of us comes to this planet with the same amount of potential, right? Like the minute that you were born, like how much you have 5 kids or about to, right? Like you're creating a farm of children over there. When they come on, like the minute that they come out, how much potential would you say that human has with a completely blank, fresh slate and canvas ahead of them?
I would say, maybe it's a cop out, but I would say infinite. Like there's no cap on their potential that I'm aware of. And if there is, it's so large that it's basically infinite.
Yeah. And it's certainly, there's different opportunity. You're born into a certain country and a certain house, certain situation, certain resources. Yeah, for sure. But as a spirit, the actual human potential. Because we also hear stories of people that were born with nothing that go on to become, like super successful, wildly huge leaders and world changers, right? So the potential of the human spirit, I would say for all of us when we come here is like, yeah, it's infinite. Right. And then at some point, somewhere along the way, we start to get conditioned. We start learning how to walk, how to talk, how to think, how to believe, right? Our family and school and religion and life experiences, it just starts to condition us. And we start to create a self-image of what we think actually is possible for ourselves. Right. And I think the artists that go on to, one of the big things that a lot of artists have that really are at that level is they just believe in their potential, right? Tony Robbins has this thing called the success cycle, where, basically looking at, how much potential do you believe that you have? If you believe that you have an infinite amount of potential, then you will show up and you will take certain actions, right? You will take different actions than somebody who thinks that they only have a small amount of potential. Right? Because if you have a small amount of potential, well then, okay, well I'm only going to show up, and kind of put in half the amount of like effort and energy, right? And then when I put in half effort and energy, I get kind of half results, and those half results start to reinforce that, like, see, I told you, this is all I'm capable of. But it also works the other way. If you really believe in yourself, you believe that you have infinite potential, and you just take massive action, and like you wake up and you make music and you grind and you do it from a place of belief, right? You go out and you shoot your shot and you build your bit, like you act that way. You start to get different results, and then those results, you start to get, really great results. Those great results then reinforce your belief about yourself. I think I actually can do this. I actually do believe this is possible. All right. And this is where I also bring up like who you surround yourself with is so important too. I think this is why Icon Collective was so successful in a lot of ways, because you start surrounding yourself with people that are really ambitious and they do believe in themselves and they do work really hard and they start getting results. It is possible. My friend is doing it. Look, if they did it, I think I could do it too. It's like a lot of this has to do with belief, because when you believe in yourself, you just show up in a different way. But if you're not seeing it, if you're hanging out with like nobody's really popping off, nobody's getting after it, everybody's like, you start doubting and complaining. I mean, I see so much about people complaining about the music industry. It's not the music industry. It's you. It's you and your mindset and your attitude and your energy, because the industry is the same for everybody. And there's a lot of people that are killing it. There's a lot of people that are succeeding. And they're the ones that they believe in themselves. And most likely, they also probably aren't sitting around complaining either, right? So clean it up, y'all.
DAW Nation, listen very closely. This is not the end to this content. This was a teeny tiny little snippet from our full episode. You can check out the full episode in the link in the description. And when you go to the free episode, you can get a free pack over there. So go check it out right now. Why are you still here? Get out of here. Go check it out. We'll see you over there.